Yeah, just before we had this conversation, I spoke to one of my colleagues who is from South Africa, and we were speaking about the Cecil Rhodes statue in Oriel College, Oxford. And one of the things he reminded me of was the pain behind that memory, and it just gave me some time to think again about, generally speaking, when someone has a statue made after them, and when we put somebody in that sense on a pedestal and up there, we're not just learning about what they've done, we're learning about what they represented. And some of the quotes that Cecil Rhodes has said about English being the first race, the more the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race. I mean, those views are of a white supremacist, and the pain that that statue will evoke in many people is something that I think, as Christians, we have to be not just mindful of, but we have to act. We have to. It's not okay just to hear that people are struggling, people are being put down. We're not just called to be great thinkers. We're called to do and to act. And so I think a lot of these, the statue in particular that we've just spoken about, is a statue that holds memories of pain, of slavery, of unspoken, often trauma. And the impact that has is something that I can't see how it can be a positive thing. And so I would definitely ask those questions of what is the benefit of that statue. That would be my view. And I do hear the argument that it shows how far we've come, but perhaps there's other ways we can mark that. And the history book will be full of that as well.
I think maybe one of the things that people find perhaps a bit challenging is that Cecil Rhodes is one thing, and clearly his involvement with the slave trade and everything else is not something you can hold any light to. But I think the difficulty comes with national figures, like, when someone sits there talking about Winston Churchill. Now, you read Winston Churchill's stuff, and he's not exactly welcoming of all races. But at the same time, you've got this national hero who fought fascism for whatever reason. And I think it's probably more those areas where
it becomes more grey.
It's like it's ingrained, like this guy is our man from the time that rescued the galvanized the nation, and we are where we are because of him to a certain extent. And it's like, how do you uphold that good thing? But yeah, you can't. I talk to friends who are from India, and you look into the things that were done during World War II, that millions of, a million at least of Indian people died because of food rationing that was taken from India to England because of Winston Churchill's command. And so, you hear those conversations, and it's like, how do you hold the two in tension?
Yeah, and I mean, there are so many tensions that we work through, and there are, I guess, for me, there are good tensions and there are bad tensions. And I'm not a massive camper. I'd rather that 5-star hotel given the choice. But the good tensions of this, let me think of it. Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me think of an example of a good tension. But I guess ultimately, if this statue is causing people to remember their traumatic past, and I guess the thing about trauma is trauma can be triggered again and again and again, specifically like mental trauma, but other traumas can have an impact where it, in a public place, causes people to relive those memories. I would question the not the validity. I would question the benefit of that in a multicultural society. I'd question, yes, the history books will record, and even the films will talk about the impact and the positive impact of his leadership.
Yeah.
But I guess the tension of also what he did, as you mentioned, in terms of how we treated people across places like India, will mean that there will always be memories that are triggered and associated. And if it's making people, and it is making people, face that trauma again, then I would question whether that is the most beneficial statue to put up in somewhere so prominent. I guess for me, it's an issue of thinking of the most loving thing in that situation is what we're going for, and I understand the tension, and I understand that the conversation is useful. But for me, over the last month, hearing some of the painful experiences that people have had to walk through, and the impact of that trauma, I would lead me to the conclusion that actually those statues need to be really carefully thought about.